I'm gonna show you how to put up corners in a situation where you got different angles. Like you got an obtuse here, you got a real fancy sharp corner here, obtuse over here, and you also got normal angles on the other side, right? Just basic, okay? I'm gonna show you what it looks like. It's a bit dark over here, but this is what it looks like in the process, right? Got this fancy corner, just fucking looks like a narrow. It's cut, it's twisted, it's round, it's whatever. I'm gonna show you how I did that. Obviously, this is not done, right? We still gotta clean it up, make it look more prettier, make that look fantastic. And I'm gonna show you how to do that, right? First thing first, we're gonna measure the corners. Measuring corners is very easy. I actually use a Makita measurer like this, right? This is the name of the tool right there in case you want to buy it. That's that right there. This is what I use to measure, especially big rooms, okay? And I'm gonna show you how to use this, but I also show you how to use a tape as well. I wanna sit my Makita measurer into the corner that I want to measure from and to. And over there you can see that I got a laser line up there, a little laser dot. I want to make sure it's sitting roughly where my cornice, the bottom of my cornice. I'm going to click shoot. Once I click this button on, it's going to give me the measurement in the distance that I was measuring from. And right there we got 2847, but this actually adds on 2 millimeter on its own, okay, by default. So the length of the wall is not 2847, it's actually 2845 because he added on 2 millimeters. But you don't want to cut it too tight. You want to take off 1 millimeter for it to fit nicely, right? So I'm going to take off 3 millimeters, the 2 that is added on by the tool, and 1 millimeter off for the actual length so that it goes in, which is this right here. So it's 2847. Take away 3 millimeters, 2 for the laser measure that he adds on by default on its own, and 1 millimeter off the full length, and that is 3 millimeters. So we got 2844. You get what I'm saying? Pretty easy, straightforward. That's if you want to go this way, right? Now this tool is actually a little bit expensive, but it's definitely recommended, right? But maybe you don't want to buy the tool and you want to do it by hand. I'm going to show you how to do that too, okay? With an obtuse, I'm going to get my tape. I want to sit it right in my obtuse, like right in the corner of that. And I want to go to this end over here, right? So right there, I've got 1189. That's the tie measurement. Unlike the laser measurer, this one doesn't add on 2 mil. This is exactly tight measurement. 1189. 1189, right? Take away 1 millimeter for it to fit is equals 1188. You get what I'm saying? That's our measurement right there. Now, when it comes to an external, this is an external because it comes out. That's an internal because it goes in, right? This one here, I'm going to put a tape there. And the tie measurement there, 592. With an external, I like to take off 2 millimeters, sometimes 3. For this case, I'm going to take off 2. 2 millimeters for the external. Take off 2. And that's 590. It's already written right there, 590. Same thing over here. Here we're going to take off 2 millimeters, going from the internal to the obtuse angle. Right there we got 2022. We got 2021. We're going to take that back. 2020. All right, 2022, take away 2 mil is 2020. You measure the rest of the room. You can use a tape or laser measurer, which is what I got, and I will use it. I'm going to take off the 2 millimeters that the laser adds on. 1 mil for it to fit. 3272. All right, 5 take away 3 is 2. Here, same thing, 73. You can use a ladder, whatever works, ladder and a plank, but I do have stilts, and I will use the stilts. Right. Now, before I get too crazy, I will explain to you how the laser works, just in case you want to buy it. So it's telling me that the laser starts measuring from here. So when I put it on the wall, where I'm going to measure from, this is an example, I'm going to click on the laser line or the laser dot start to show. That means from there to here, once I click that, I'll click on again, and it's going to give me the measurement from here to where the laser line was hitting, where the laser dot was hitting, and that's the measurement. It adds on 2 millimeters on its own. It just adds on 2 mil. So right there, the actual measurement from this wall to that wall is 32.77. That's the measurement for it. That's how that works. These are very good, very handy, highly recommended, especially if you're working by yourself. It's very hard to get your tape to go from end to end. This definitely does do the job. When it comes to cutting corners, it's very important that you write down your measurements. And when it comes down to writing my measurements, I write my measurements very specifically. And this is how I do it. This is my system. You're in my world now, and this is how I do things. Check this out, right? So I'm gonna start just anywhere. Right there, I've got 32.73 double internal. My first piece, I write it down like this, right? 73. That's it, right? Exactly what I'm seeing on the wall. Right there, we got 28.44. We got an internal this side, obtuse this side. I got 28.44. Internal, I don't put anything on it. Double internal, there's nothing on it. Internal, nothing on it. Obtuse, I do that. That means I got obtuse on the left. I know these symbols because this is what I do all the time. You can come up with your own symbols as long as you have a thing that you always remember, right? Here, even though it's a very sharp corner, it's still a normal internal. So don't let that trip you out. I know it looks very crazy, but it's normal, right? So here we get 11.88, right? Obtuse, right? Normal internal. That makes sense. Over here we got 590, so I'm gonna go 590, internal nothing, external, I'll put an X. I can tell the difference. That's an obtuse, obtuse, external, external obtuse. I'm gonna remember that because I know it's an external obtuse. All right. Here we got 20, external. Obtuse, I remember that. 32.72, normal, internal, no marks, nothing. You understand? That's it. I got all my measurements. Now let's go cut it real quick. Check this out. I've got this miter box. Just to show you how simple this is. I went to Bunnings and bought the cheapest miter box. This was 12 bucks. Never used this before. And I'm going to just show you how it works. Just to show you how simple this is, right? Inside the miter box, you have slots. Okay. This one cuts cove cornice, which is what we're using today. Cove cornice. As long as the width of the cornice is 75, you can cut it in this miter box. This cuts 75, it cuts 55 or 90. Doesn't matter what shape you got. Every cornice has a label, right? As long as you're working with the 55, 75 or 95, this miter box will do the job. This right here, because the smaller one is going to take 55, this one's going to take 75, this one's going to take 95. If you're not sure, you see your cornice. When the cornice seems to be sitting right, then that's your miter box. You can definitely test, cut a dummy piece, go try it to double check if it's your first time, and figure out which slot works best for your corner. But I know that this is my 75 curve cornice, right? We also got these slots to cut with, okay? So here you can cut an internal and an external at the same time. The room that we're working on, we're not doing a 90-degree external. We're only doing an obtuse. So we're not going to cut an external, normal external, but you can definitely cut an external and an internal in the same slot. Okay, same as that. That goes that way, that goes that way. These two here, they're for your obtuse. Okay, your obtuse angles, and we're gonna use these two as well. This miter box is still new. I bought it today, 12 bucks, just to show you how this works. I'm gonna put this cornice down and we're gonna start cutting, right? When I cut cornice, I like to start with the biggest piece so that when I have offcuts, I can cut my smaller pieces from my offcuts. Start with the big pieces first. Look at this, right? I'll put everything down. Got too much stuff here. I'm gonna sit it down, making sure that my slots are on my side, okay? Like this. My slots are on my side. Get my corners, right? Come to the end. I'm gonna sit it down. I also got a saw right here. This saw is very old. It might cut the corners a bit funny, but it will do the job. You genuinely wanna get a saw that can cut pipes, right? Any saw that can cut pipes can cut corners very well. You don't want a simple wood saw because it's gonna cut the cornice funny. You need one that can cut pipes. This one cuts pipes. Okay, I'm gonna sit it down. See how I sit it down here? The cornice seems comfortable. It feels comfortable. If I put it on the 55, you can see that it's not sitting right, right? If I sit it on 90, it's not sitting right. This is what I was saying by testing it out and seeing where the cornice feels comfortable. So therefore, 75, that seems right to me, okay? Now, I'm gonna cut my internal. Let's see what piece we're cutting first. My two biggest pieces are 3273 and we got 3272, okay? Those are my two pieces, only internals, right? Just internals. Internals are very easy to cut, and this is what it looks like. Once you see your cornice in your mother slot, right, it's comfortable, you wanna use these four right here. Don't worry about these yet. Focus on these. Internal, internal. You can see that it's an internal. Obtuse don't seem to be sharp. Internal is sharp, okay? Every time you cut an internal, you cut an external at the same time. I'll show you how. But my first piece, I'm gonna see my cornice right at the end, cut my internal this way, right? I'm gonna get my saw. I'm gonna let the saw do the work. See the saw down and just cut that in that groove. So it's a new miter box, okay? I'm actually cutting the timber as well. Unfortunately, you have to do that when you buy a new miter box, and that's that right there. This is an external, right? But I'm not gonna get into all that. We're not cutting externals today, but you cut an external and an internal in the same miter slot, right? That's my internal cut. First internal. Everything is upside down, but don't let that trip you out. I'll explain to you how to easily cut this, right? I'm gonna hook my tape right at the edge of that cornice, not on the bottom here, the pointy side of the cornice, on an internal piece. I'm gonna get my tape, making sure that it's nice and straight. I'm gonna come to the end and I'm gonna cut my first big piece. I'm gonna mark my 3273, right? I'm gonna write down the measurement, 3273, so I don't lose track of what I've cut. And you wanna make sure your tape is nice and straight too, by the way, because if the tape is not straight, if it's bowed or curved, your measurement is not gonna be precise, right? That's very important. Right, I'm gonna see my cornice down into my miter box right there. You wanna make sure that your line right here lines up with this right here, right? This is my 3273 mark. I wanna make sure it lines up with this. Not here, but this part of the miter box, the slot. My first corner was cut in this one here. Second corner is gonna be cut in this double internal. Make sure it lines up with that to there. When you're happy, make sure it's sitting in your miter box, right in the right slot line. And when you're ready, you're gonna cut it. Good. I'm gonna sit it down. When it comes to double internal, it's all exactly the same. I don't have to explain that to you. I'm gonna do the exact same thing I just done with my 3273. Cut my first internal, measure, cut my second internal, cut. That's it, right? But now let's talk about obtuse angles, right? This is it. Everything is cut upside down, and it might seem tricky and confusing, but this is the easiest way to do this, right? So you wanna look at your measurement. This is my obtuse angle right here. I've got 2844, but I've got an obtuse on my left hand side, right? To forget about the confusing part of this whole thing, just cut your first internal, normal internal, not an obtuse internal, normal internal, where you've got your mark. By the time I flip it, everything goes to where it should be, right? So cut your internal on this side right here. That looks something like this. You're gonna flip it, we're gonna flip that, come over here. But I'm gonna cut my internal over here. So I've pulled my cornice all the way to the end over there, and I'm gonna start my first internal right here, right? Cutting my internal in this slot. Just like that. Cool. There's my internal. By the time we flip it, internal is gonna be on that side. Everything's upside down. Don't let that confuse you, okay? I'm gonna measure 28.44. Check this out. 28.44. Making sure that my tape is straight. Right? 28.44. Right on the mark right there. I'm gonna write it down. 28.44. Easy. Now this is the part where it gets a little bit tricky, but it's not that confusing. Come have a look, right? So this section right here of the mother box, this part going that way, this is to cut your right angle everything. External, you cut in the same slot. Internal, you cut in the same slot. Okay. We're not cutting 90-degree external. We're only cutting internals today. That room doesn't have a 90-degree external. This section here is for all the right angles, right? Normal 90-degree. You cut it from this side. This side here, going that way, this is for your obtuse, right? So here you can cut your external obtuse, internal obtuse in the same mother box, in the same slot. Here you can cut your external obtuse, internal obtuse. This is obtuse, right angle, right? You can see the difference. The distance from here to there on your right angle is wider. Also, the cut is more narrower, right? When it comes to your obtuse, the corners, they're right close to each other. Also, it's less, I guess, smaller, right? That's the fastest way to tell. Okay. Now, check this out, right? Our first internal was a right angle internal in this section of the mother box, normal internal, right? But notice how internal, my first internal, I'll cut it here. Second internal, I'll cut it there. And I've got internal piece, right? So we're going to use this to look at this mother box right here. And that means if we want to cut our next internal, whether it's an obtuse or not, just remember the section you're in. You want to cut it on this one right here. See how the mother box goes on an angle like this for similar pieces, just two different sizes, left and right. You want to use that to get the first internal and the second internal of the obtuse going the same way. Okay, you don't want to cut over here because you're going to cut an internal, external. You want to cut internal, right angle, obtuse, but they're both going this way. That is probably the simplest way to explain that. So I'm going to get my mother box, sit my cornice down, right? So I'm going to drag my whole cornice on my mark, sit on my obtuse right there, on that point right here, right? Similar to my normal 90-degree angle, I want to make sure that my line lines up with that point there in my obtuse. So that's lining up there just right. I want to cut it. I want to be in these two obtuse angles and cut that. Fresh mother box. Cool. Now, I know I cut my normal internal right angle on the left. But by the time I get my cornice and I spin it around because everything is cut upside down, now we got our obtuse angle on the left, like the mark says. Right angle internal on the right, like the mark says. So don't let that stuff confuse you. That's how you cut an obtuse angle, right? Cool. Now, same thing here. We got 1188, right? Don't worry about the dogs, right? 1188. Obtuse on the right, normal internal on the left. To demonstrate, I'm gonna get my piece right here. Off cut, like I said, start with your biggest pieces. That way you have off cuts to use to cut your smaller pieces. I'm gonna seam my cornice into the mother box. My right internal, right? I explain it one more time. We got a mark here for obtuse in the right on the right hand side. So I want to cut my right angle internal because we have an internal over here. I want to cut my right angle internal where that mark is. I'm going to sit it in my mother box, get my cornice, sit the way it needs to be sitting. I want to cut it on my normal 90-degree angle internal right there. Sit it down into the box, right? And we're going to cut the first right angle internal. Right? That's my internal cut on the same side as my obtuse. Okay, I'm gonna measure it 1188 exactly. Always double check your measurements because you could make a mistake. Write it down. Now we're gonna cut our obtuse internal. This is what you have to remember. So similar to before, I've just cut my internal in this floor right here. Okay, I want to look at the miter box, right? Right obtuse is over here. Left obtuse is over here. In this case, we're cutting a right obtuse, so I'm gonna put it right there. Slide my piece into my obtuse angle there, right? Lining up with that corner like I've been showing you with the mark there, and we're gonna cut it. On this side here, cut that piece. Cool. Now, if I get my piece right here, the piece I just cut, if I spin it around, right, we got an obtuse internal over here, right angle internal over there, and it's cut exactly right, even though I cut it this way. Just remember to cut your first internal wherever you got the mark. That's very important, right? That's it right there, 1188. Now let's cut that up, that external piece, right? So here we've got an obtuse external, okay? Obtuse external, normal internal, nothing fancy. Obtuse, normal internal. Similar to my obtuse internal, I'm gonna cut my internal, normal right angle internal, on my right. Wherever the mark is, that's where I'm gonna cut my first internal. I said on my right, I was meant to say on my left. When I see my cornice down, right, come close, bro. See my cornice down? I'm gonna cut it on my left where that mark is. Just like that. Cool. Sit it down. Get my pencil. Want to measure that, 590. Right? Remember, I just got my internal on my left there. Exactly precise. This part gets a little bit tricky, right? I'll show you how this works real quick. This was my offcut for the 1188. I've cut my internal. That was this piece that's gone. This became an external of the same piece, okay? By the time I spin it around, this is an external now. It's a little bit weird, but it's not, okay? So, if you want to cut an external, you want to cut it on the pointy side. Internal, internal, external, external. But then it's the same slots, right? Same thing with an obtuse. Internal, internal, obtuse, external, external. You understand? It's the same, but it's different. You get what I mean? So, I've just cut my internal right angle on the 590 piece. Internal on the left where my mark was for my obtuse external. Now I'm going to cut my external on this obtuse right here. Because it's an external. It's my right external. Right? Right external of the obtuse. I'm going to cut it right there. So it looks like this. With my mark, I'm going to sit it down. And in case it gets a little bit weird and confusing, remember that your internals were coming in like this. Double internals. But when you get an internal and an external, they go like that, right? They go like this. Internal, it goes like this, like an X. Externals, they go like that, okay? Internal, external, right? So that's what it looks like. So internal, internal, that way. I know I'm trying my best to make this make sense, especially if it's your first time. It looks something like this. On my mark, right? In this case, rather than going off this mark here, like I was doing before, I want to use this right here and make sure that my line lines up with the external of that. So make sure that this is exactly that. If you go that way, it's going to be too long or too short, okay? I'm going to cut it now. just like that. See this right here, right? If you look at my mark 590, I cut my internal, right angle internal on the X. By the time I spin it around, external over here, internal, internal, external, obtuse, right angle, just like that. 590, write it down, just like that. Sit it down. Right. So now we're left with this final piece to cut. This case here, we got obtuse external on the right, normal right angle internal on the left. Right, same thing. I'm gonna cut my internal where the X is, where the mark is. That's 2020. Right, I'm gonna see my cornice in my miter box, and I wanna cut my internal right there on the right hand side of the right angle slot. Right, just like that. That piece is gone. Internal cut. Let's put that down. I'm gonna hook my tape on there right there. I'm gonna come through and mark my 2020, making sure that it's nice and straight. 2020, just like that. 2020. Yeah, let's just not talk about 2020 too much because we know what happened in 2020. I'm gonna write it down. 2020. Right, vision, blazing. Right, look at this. Right, so before everything was all about the left external. Now we're cutting a right external. Right, once today my miter box. Okay, before we cut over here, the 590, we cut an internal, external over here. This time we cut an internal. Right, we're gonna cut our external on this side here, on this obtuse here. Before it was this one, now it's this one. This was for our left, this is for our right. I'm gonna push that there, making sure that it goes with that line. Cool. When we're happy, we're gonna cut our external. Just like that. There you go. By the time you flip it, right? Same thing. 2020 vision, external, external, internal, internal. It's very straightforward, very easy. Now, obviously you can see that the process is serious, and I like to break down things to their simplest form. I know it's a long video, but this is exactly what I mean. If you want to learn more, you got to watch videos where I actually break things down to its simplest form, and that's what I'm going to be doing throughout this whole course. Unfortunately, I'm not going to show you a video of me putting it up for free. Definitely buy the course today, right now, so you can watch the rest of this video where I get to put up this cornice and show you how I do it exactly, broken down step by step, start to finish, and you'll see how to put up those cornices that I just cut in the course once you enroll for the course. I appreciate you, but I'm not going to let you confuse. I'm going to cut some dummy pieces. We're going to go up there and I'm going to sit them up without the mud, just to give you a little bit of what it looks like, you know, with what you've just cut, with everything I've explained, right? So just give me 1 second. I'll cut some dummy pieces. I know it's a little bit dark, the sun's going down, so we got to wrap it up. But I had to show you what it looks like so you know exactly what you've just cut. Definitely, if you want to watch the rest of this part of the course, you can definitely enroll right now, and you'll see the full video of me putting it up and breaking it down step by step, this entire room. That's where the rest of the videos are, if you're curious. But these are dummy pieces, similar to the pieces I cut, right? So I've got my internal obtuse angle, and I've cut it the exact same way, but this is what they look like once you put them up. You see them exactly right. The 2844, 1188, these are the pieces, and that's what they will look like. All right, perfect. This is a very sharp corner, okay, but internal is gonna fit just perfect. There you go. This is a double normal right angle internal, and that's what it will look like once it's up. 590 2020. This is that right there. Obtuse angle, making sure they're sitting right. And it will look something like that. There you go. 28 44, 3273. Internal. This is what they'll look like. Just like that. Gorgeous, pretty, perfect, nice, easy. Very good. So yeah, if you're curious to learn how to put the cornice up, wash cornice, and many other things that I'm gonna be teaching you guys, I'm literally gonna teach you everything I know in drywall, broken down into sections, simplified for beginners, for professionals, and many other weird stuff that I can't show you right now. Right? Make sure you enroll right now, learn that and so much more. But for now, this is it. I hope to see you in the course. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the support. Let's make it happen, man. This is exciting for me, and for sure, I'll make it worth your while. For sure. You already know, man. You know how I get down. Drywall is not complicated, and I'll prove that to you guys. I will expose the industry. Thank you. I'll see you in the course. I appreciate you. Bye.